This is a totally different podcast episode than I usually do because here I'm showcasing the amazing people who will be at a Freelance Unlocked Conference, the first conference for freelancers that made with love, and it'll take place in Berlin on May 15-16, 2024. If you are a freelancer in Europe, it's an event made for you to learn, exchange experiences, and build your network of great freelancers and experts who move the freelance economy forward. So go to freelanceunlocked.com and grab your ticket right away. My name is Yuri. I'm a community builder at Code Control and 9am.works, and my guest is Ryan Bettercourt, co-founder at Growth Collective, who works with great people to build online products, marketplaces, and communities to help ambitious companies grow. So, hello, Ryan.
Hey there. Nice to see you. Nice to chat. I'm excited about the
Finally,
conference. I'm excited about this talk.
happy to meet you even before the conference. And
Yeah,
let's
great.
talk about your journey. So, how did you start your journey in the freelance world?
Yeah, so I have been building businesses for quite some time, for the last 15 years or so. Some bootstrap, some venture backed, some small that did fine, some larger that did well, some in the middle that didn't do so well. And all along that, I've found excitement in working with a bunch of different companies, right? You get so close to the company that you're working with and the company you're trying to build that it's nice to work with other companies outside of that. And so that's how I've done it in terms of being an advisor, being a freelancer. My focus has usually been on product, business development, and then growth marketing. Those are the things that I've done. So over the years, I've jumped in and out of various companies on a freelance basis, on a fractional basis, on a consulting level, and I continue to do that today, depending on how much time I have with the other companies I'm trying to build. And then as we've built these businesses, we started Legion a few years ago, which is a company that owns multiple products and services, as you mentioned, including Growth Collective. And I got involved with Growth Collective because in my past businesses, that was like sort of a secret weapon, right? It's like you
Mm.
could find these really amazing experts across tech, BD, marketing, et cetera, that you could pull in and to solve something really significant quickly and well. And so that became a big part. That's always been a big part of our approach. And so we got involved in Growth Collective because Growth Collective had been doing some really great work in Silicon Valley. It was started in Silicon Valley and working with a lot of startups. And we used it for one of our businesses, and then we actually ended up acquiring it and folding it into Legion. And so I have experience on both sides, right? Working with companies as a freelancer, also being the company that works with freelancers, and then now like having a platform in which we have some amazing marketing talent on the platform and great clients that are leveraging that talent for growth.
You were talking a little bit about of fractional talents. So why did you decide to work exactly with fractional marketing talents, not just freelance marketers?
Yeah, I mean, I think uh, it's somewhat semantics, right? But in our minds, in the minds of the clients, fractional to us means not just solving a commoditized problem, meaning I need to set up my GA real quickly, right? I need to
Mm.
get to GA4. That to us is you come in as an expert, you set it up as on a project basis. You don't actually ever end up becoming part of that company. You just go in, set up the GA, and you get out, right? And there are a lot of platforms and a lot of ways that you can solve that. If you just need to solve something on a commoditized, a marketing task, you can do that, right? Like there's some great platforms for that. For us, we think that marketing has changed so much that those kind of projects don't really move a company forward. They solve something. They don't really move a company forward. What moves a company forward is working with experts, we believe, working with experts to really help find growth channels and scale those growth channels. And that's more on a fractional basis, right? Once you have somebody that you're working with as a client for 10, 20, even 40 hours a week for a more extended period of time, they become a part of your efforts and they can drive your business further. The other side of it too is we don't think just the project-based work is good for freelancers, right? I mean, it's really hard to manage all, as a freelancer, it's hard to manage your week and your day. And when you have this project that's, is going to take you 10 hours, and that project, which is going to take you 20 hours a week, and this project, which is just a quick 5 hour, it's really hard to manage your day. So, for us as a freelancer, it's a lot better if I work with 2 or 3 clients on an ongoing basis, and I'm only replacing, one client at a time. So I may have that client for 6 months at 15 hours a week, and another client for 6 months at 15 hours a week, another client at 10 hours a week, for a year. And then I'm just replacing one of those, right? I think that's what we all kind of want to do. We all want to work as freelancers. We want to work for great companies, great projects, but we need consistency too, right? And
Yeah.
so we think that that's the better approach for the freelancer, and that will attract better experts. And so we look at it on a fractional basis, as our goal is to help our experts find ongoing fractional work rather than just project-based, fixed price kind of engagements. And then we think that also works better for the client, because now they can actually find real avenues for growth rather than just solving a quick project and moving on.
But in this case, companies also has to trust those freelancers. And that's what I hear a lot from people, that they are coming to the company, they are solving some task, and they're out. And
Yeah.
not that many who really goes and like have
Yeah.
conversations, ask about companies' needs, ideate, help solve some challenges. So how to build this trust to be this exactly fractional talent, to be somebody who they listen to?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's we have these conversations a lot, right? And actually, I was having this conversation last week with a client of ours that at Growth Collective, that is an agency, and this is what he said, was he understands that where the world is going is that we have these blended teams, right? Some work full time. He's in California. Some work full time. They're on in the U.S. a W-2, right? So they're full time. It's they're showing up every day if they're in person. They're having coffee in the break room every day. They're at the holiday party, and it's clear like these people are part of the team,
Mhm.
right? And then they keep hiring freelancers or fractional help to help them serve their clients. And he understands that they should be treated and are just as much a part of the team as anybody else if they're fractional, right? They should still be treated like they are part of the team. They should still be at the holiday party on occasion, right?
Yeah.
They should still be included in some of the company celebrations, et cetera, even though they're not the traditional W-2 full-time employee. But what he said is he understands that, but it's the person within the company that might be interacting with that person every single day, and they have confusion about, well, can I contact this person at 8 o'clock in the morning when I need him for a client, or I only have him for 10 hours a week? It's figuring out how they sort of integrate into that team. And that's, to us, why like fractional works, right? So what we try to do is, we think part of the trust factor is just knowing when you can work with that person, that person is dependable, and that person is part of the team and will be for a period of time. So fractional solves that better than freelance, we believe, right? Because if you know that that person is working 15 hours a week or 10 hours a week or 20 hours a week during these hours, and they're going to be there for 6 or 12 months, then you start to trust them. But if they're just
Yeah.
coming in and they're doing a project for 5 hours, and then 3 weeks later they're doing another project for 4 hours, and then a month later they're doing, it's hard to build that trust, and it's hard for the company and the freelancer to feel like they're part of the same team. So we think fractional helps to solve some of that trust, and then vetting those people, right? The number of people that are doing freelance work has exploded since COVID, right? And
Yeah.
so we need to do our job in vetting so that the client can trust the freelancer, and then vice versa. We need to do our job in vetting the client so that the freelancer can trust that it's good work.
So I believe it's definitely is that in latest 3, 4 years, freelance economy changed a lot and it's keep
Yeah.
changing. So what is your take on the freelance economy future?
Yeah, I mean, I think it goes beyond the future of freelance. I think it's like I think the right question that we often try and answer is what does the future of work look like? So future of work meaning how is work going to get done in the most productive, efficient, affordable manner that works for both sides, right? And there are a lot, I think, of companies that, those companies that are trying to get everybody back into the office are the same companies that are saying, oh, we don't hire freelancers, we just have full-time folks, right? And
Yeah.
it's the belief within some of those companies that remote and freelance was a temporary solution to a temporary problem, and it completely misses the point, right? And those clients, I think, over time, those companies over time are going to find that they're just going to be left behind because ultimately the future of work should be to us, right? And we think this is where it's going. The future of work should be working with the best, most talented folks to help you move your business or organization goals forward, right?
Yeah.
Wherever they are, and whatever construct best works for the person doing the work and the company, right? So there may be plenty of roles that should still be full time, and there'll be plenty of roles that should be freelance, and it works better as freelance. And I also think that like the people that the best talent wins as we go forward, right? So those people, no matter where they are in the world, if they're incredible at what they do, they're good at working with companies. They can get into a company and work quickly.
Yeah.
They can quickly understand the exact sort of outcomes that they're trying to drive, and then they can drive those outcomes. The best talent wins, right? Because in the old construct, it's like you show up and you're paid based on hours that you're in the office, generally speaking, right? So, different companies look at it differently, but if you get paid X, you get paid X in the old construct to come in and work 40 hours a week, right? In the new construct, companies have to be a lot better at identifying exactly the activities and exactly the outcome of those activities. And in that world, the best talent wins because it's like in the old construct, if it takes them 10 hours to do it, they still have to be in the office for 40 hours, right? But in a world where companies are just trying to drive outcomes and they drive those outcomes through and they come to understand that the best way to drive the outcomes is to get the best experts and to be very clear on what the outcome is and then to work with them on a fractional or freelance basis. In that world, if that same person can perform well in 10 hours a week, right, and
Yeah.
drive that outcome, well, now they can either make the same income or a little bit less, but the same income in less hours, or they can do multiple engagements and make more money, right? And so we believe that the future will reward freelancers that are able to do that, and that companies will need to embrace these hybrid work structures, right? Where they have full-time folks, they have fractional folks, and then the challenge is how the systems and the companies support both their full-time folks and the fractional freelance folks, right? To feel part of the team, to feel part of the culture, to feel part of uh, the collective that's moving that company forward. And so like we just see it accelerating faster and faster and faster. And I think that'll blur the lines between agency and freelance. It'll blur the lines between full-time W-2 employees in the US and fractional or freelance folks. And then we all have to do our job to support that changing way of work.
The way you were talking about the speed and how fast people has to be and how they have to use their time productively. I was thinking about like in this time the most valuable skill is like communications. Because
Yeah,
previously,
absolutely.
when you joined the company, you had like 1 month, 2 months, 3 months of onboarding, and basically you could do nothing, just
Yeah,
read some
yeah,
documents, meet people. But then now, as a fractional expert, you are joining, you have to like get to know everyone in a week and understand what the challenges are and to
yeah,
understand how to deal with them. So those people who
yeah.
are great in communications, who know how to connect with people, I feel like they have a really good advantage.
Yeah, they have a massive event, and especially like so we focus just on marketing and growth, freelancing, right? And fractional. So in that world, it's even more so true, right? Like because marketing has become as much about data and science as it is about the art of it, right? Like you don't have much time as a marketing freelancer to get up to speed, right? Like if you're hired as a general marketing director, online marketing director, whatever that means. I mean, I think we used to know what that means, right? But whatever that means now, you have plenty of time to get up to speed. But if you're hired for, to build out a influencer marketing campaign, both to create the strategy, to create the timeline, to create the budget, and then execute it, like the first week you're expected to do something that contributes to that to that goal, right? So you have to come in exactly. You have to understand their needs very quickly. You have to communicate very quickly. You have to jump in very quickly. And the good and the is you have to show progress quickly, which benefits the company and it benefits the best freelancers, in that case, the best influencer marketing experts, because they will that they'll jump in, be able to perform, be able to earn good money doing so, and they won't have to deal with all the other sort of like waste and annoyances of driving into an office and all the other stuff, right?
Yeah, exactly, exactly. So give me a sneak peek into what you'll be talking about on the Freelance Unlocked stage.
Yeah, so I'm going to be talking about launch marketing. So again, we focus on marketing freelancers. So our job is to support great experts find great work, right? And again, we came out of Silicon Valley, so in that a lot of our freelancers in the beginning were folks that were leaving some of the big startups or moonlighting at some of the biggest, it's from some of the biggest startups in the valley. And over time, like that's continued to be a big part of our business. But over time, what we found is that a lot of folks don't understand how to launch something. And what I mean by that is if there's a company that is in Europe and wants to test the US market, to us, that's a launch, right? You're launching in the US. How do you do that? You hire
Mm-hmm.
people there, but then you have to have an entity set up, et cetera, et cetera. Then you have to hire somebody, you have to understand the US market, blah, blah, blah. If you're launching a new product, it's very similar, right? Like you're trying to find a new market for whatever you do. And so a big part of what we're getting a lot of demand for from clients is how to launch something, right? How do I launch a new product? If I'm a large beverage company, we're launching a new beverage. Do I take my existing team and have them launch it? And same if I'm going from Europe to the US or vice versa, right? Like how do I think? So I'm going to be talking about launch and specifically like how freelancers can get access to those, because those are really fun, cool engagements. And also what it takes to succeed there, right? So there, it's a lot more about testing. It's a lot more about testing multiple different channels. It's a lot more about making assumptions and then testing those assumptions. Like, so, if you're more established, a more established company may ask for a paid Facebook expert, right? A company that's doing a launch may ask for, hey, we need people that can help us understand what channels we should be testing, test those, figure out which ones work, and then scale those. And so that's a more fun project usually for freelancers, but it also requires like even more so a very like scientific and mathematical approach to that. So I'm going to be talking about that. How do you get access to those engagements? How do you perform in those engagements? What are the clients looking for? And then how you're successful in those.
So if I'm hearing it correctly, the launch marketing is like the initial phase of the like in a general marketing.
Yeah, it's the phase of trying to figure out how do we actually go to market and scale this thing, right? So if you're a freelancer and you hop into, I don't know, Adidas, right? Like, I mean, they generally know their market. They're like optimizing here or there or whatever, right? But they generally know their market. They're testing new markets. They launch new products occasionally, but generally, like, they're not going to launch a car, right? I mean, they're not going to go into a new market, and they're already in other countries, et cetera. That's a very different engagement than um, take the same like industry. Like there's a company, I go between California and Germany, and there's a local company that's a startup athletic brand, right?
Mhm.
They're not in the US, right? They're folks that came from Adidas, and they launched this new brand. They're trying to get to the US. That's a very different
Yeah.
exercise, right? It's like, should we go in and like buy Facebook ads because we're trying to sell in the US direct to consumer? Are we just trying to build awareness there and we should be doing more, like PR based stuff? Like, it's a very different approach. They don't have their distribution set up. They may not be able to go DTC in the US. So yeah, a launch is how do I go find a new and that could be a launch of a product from the get-go. It could be a launch of a new product. It could be launched into a new geographic market. It could be a launch into a new vertical market, like industry market. But it's a launch. How do I go in and try and find a new channel for growth? And that's exciting. It's also, you have to get it right because you're going somewhere new where you don't have a revenue stream there, right? So like it has to be pretty ROI positive pretty quickly for these companies.
So you are talking about companies that are trying to get new markets or who are get trying to get out new
Yeah,
products. And what if we
correct.
talk about freelancers? So how, for example,
Yeah.
freelancer can use launch marketing in their professional to kind of launch something as a freelancer?
Yeah, it's a great question. We talk about this all the time, right? Because what typically, it's difficult as a freelancer to know how many for marketing, because again, we focus on marketing, right? But I'm a product guy as well. So over the years, we've hired a lot of freelancers. A lot of my friends have been freelancers as engineers. And it's difficult to find the balance between being um, have a diverse set of skills and not having such a diverse set of skills that you don't look like an expert at something,
Mm,
right? So, what a lot of freelancers make the mistake of is they go in and they say, I can do paid search in marketing, paid search, paid social, SEO, influencer marketing, content marketing, blah, blah, blah. And they go through all this. Like, they think that that's what the client wants, right? Because they're
mm,
like, oh yeah, I can do that. Oh yeah, I can do that. Oh yeah, I can do that, right? But the challenge there is that you're competing with people that may truly be an expert in like paid search, right? Like they may, like we have experts that literally worked at Google in the paid search group, right? Like those people really understand paid search, right? They came from the team that drives most of the paid search in the world, right?
yeah.
So to us, a launch is okay. If you just left a job and you're trying to go be a freelancer, how should you launch that, right? Like what expert level, what can you truly be an expert in that you have a very defined set of companies that you can go try and find work from, right? So like a friend of mine is a freelancer and he was doing all this and they said, well, but what I'm really great at is product marketing, right? So I'm going to focus on product marketing, right? So his launch is I'm going to focus on product marketing and I'm going to focus on product marketing for SaaS companies. So his launch was I'm a product marketing freelancer for SaaS companies. And now that he's gotten a consistent level of clients and work, now he's like, oh, well, what's related to that, right? What's related to that might be content marketing, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
Because of needing to drive conversion, right? And lead nurturing and a series of other stuff. So then that's another launch, right? That's like, okay, now how do I go? how do I go to my existing customers and say, now I do content marketing as well, or existing clients? How do I go to past clients? How do I go to new clients? So for freelancers, there's this launch of you becoming a freelancer, right? So how do you do that? Like the launch of becoming a freelancer is, what platforms do you go on? What do you need in terms of a business, right? Like, are you going to do your own billing?
Yeah.
Are you going to somebody else? Are you able to get to your own clients? Are you going to use a website, right? Are you going to create a website? What are you going to do for like nurturing potential clients? Like there's that launch, right? Like I'm launching as a freelancer, and that's very similar to what a company's going through, right? It's like, should I just focus my energy on building building a name on LinkedIn, right? Or should I be trying to do email and doing an email newsletter? Should I be building a website and trying to do SEO, right? You can't do all those things well. Like if you really have critical mass one place, go get critical mass in that one place, then you'll get clients. And then once you start getting clients in one, to us, it's like be an expert at something, and then you can add additional expertise to what you offer clients. So be an expert at influencer marketing. And then once you really have great clients in that, then go add affiliate marketing, because it's pretty similar, right? I mean, you're trying to go find companies that already have an audience. You're rewarding them for driving attention and customers, right? And then that's another launch, right? But to us, it's very similar, right? To me, it's very similar because you've got to figure out what channels to go launch in to get awareness and customers.
And you talked about adding like similar skills and improving like what you're doing, your number one skill. And
Yeah,
we still all have just 24 hours in a day.
yeah,
And
for
sometimes
sure.
it's just, if you keep adding, adding, and adding, at some point you'll reach a maximum and like what to do next. So I wonder from your perspective, like what is the best way to improve yourself to be better expert in like different things and keep adding to your number one skill, or partnering with other freelancers who are number one in those skills?
Yeah, I mean, our belief is it's better to for the clients, it's better for the build what we call bespoke teams. So that's something that we focus on, is like um, if you go hire, say, an agency, and you go hire an agency, like you're going to hire who's available at that time, right? Because the agency model is difficult, right? Because they have a big flood of clients, and then they lose clients, and it's up and down. But if you go, the right way to grow is go find experts across the various channels. So if you're trying to launch something in the US, you want to test local SEO, you want to take paid in the US, paid social, maybe influencer, maybe something else, right? And you should find experts in each of those. So the reverse of that, I think, is also true, right? Which is, I think, as a freelancer, as an independent person, it's really good to have a lot of expertise in one area and then lean into that niche, right? So it's like, if your expertise is email marketing, well, how can you get super niche about that, right? Like my expertise is email marketing, but my expertise is email marketing for DTC e-commerce companies, right? Like that's what I know. And I know the tool, I know the tools that are used in that. I know the math, I know how the math works in that. Like, because then it does a couple things. One, you are truly the expert. Two, your potential client base becomes very specific, right? It's
Yeah.
like, I only am going after Shopify e-commerce folks that use Klaviyo and are DTC, right? Like those are my targets. And you can build a really nice freelance business on that. You only need a few, clients a year if they're consistent and really great clients. So I always believe that if you really become a true expert in one, and then as you have those clients, then bring other folks in. That's why, like, joining a conference, getting together with other freelancers, being part of freelancer communities is so great, right?
Yeah.
Because that's where we want the business ultimately to come from as freelancers, right? Is like not on, I mean, we own a platform, right? But like ultimately, you getting referral business, you getting from other freelancers, getting business from them, being pulled into deals or engagements. That's the best way for it all to sort of materialize, but it's difficult for that to happen. So I would say become an expert, bring in other folks, and then as you really get, like the example I used, okay, what else in DTC e-commerce on Shopify, right, is really necessary? Then I
Yeah.
become an expert in exactly the same thing. Okay, well, now let's take some of the email marketing, let's start going that is winning, and let's start going and buying some retargeting ads, right? So I do like retargeting as well, because that's pretty related to email and like abandoning carts and all that stuff, right?
Yeah.
So that's the way that I would recommend doing it.
So you already told a little bit about why it's good to go to conferences like this, and you are definitely going because you are a speaker. And
Yeah.
what if some of your friend would approach you and like, "Hey Ryan, I know that you'll be speaking at that conference, but what's in it for me? Like, why should I go to the Freelance Unlocked conference?" What would you say to your friend?
There's a romance about being a freelancer, and then you get into being a freelancer and like, wait a second, right? Like I wanted to get away from working for one company and having coffee in the break room and like, all that stuff, right? But then you realize, oh, it's pretty lonely, right? Because you're never really part of something, right? Like it's difficult because you're doing work for a company, but as we before, the company doesn't really treat you like you're part of the company, right? And the colleagues there don't really treat you like you're part of the company. So I think one big reason is just camaraderie, right? Like anything, me running companies or me being a freelancer, those are both pretty lonely, right? You need colleagues, you need friends that are in the same thing that you can share with and not think that you're crazy, right? For doing this. So I think that's one thing. Two is exactly like what we've been talking about is learning, right? How do you find your niche? How do you exploit that niche? How do you find those clients that appreciate that you're an expert in that niche? And it's especially true. I mean, I don't remember the exact stats, right? But like the number of freelancers has gone up, whatever it has, 3x or 4x in the last 3 or 4 years. So if I was telling a friend, I would say, well, because one, it's in Berlin, which is an incredible city. Two, there's going to be awesome people that are all looking to like get to know each other because they're all in a similar boat where they're feeling somewhat lonely in this
Yeah.
path, right, of work. And three, you're gonna learn stuff, and so it's gonna pay for itself because you're gonna learn stuff. And even if you just learn something that you get an extra client or you keep another client around, like it's totally worth it. So city, people, learning, I think all are good reasons.
I definitely bet you are going to many conferences to have fun, to network, to meet people. So,
Yeah.
what is your advice for some participant of the conference to get the most out of it? Like number one, your top one advice.
Um, don't be afraid to put yourself out there. Don't be afraid to walk up to somebody and just start a conversation. Don't be afraid to just it's hard like anything, right? To meeting anybody, but the easiest way is, hey, I'm so and so. What's your story, right? Basically, um, put yourself out there.
Got
Like
it.
meet people, show, share what you're doing, be authentic in sharing what you're doing, but put yourself out there.
And you also reminded me, I know this person, Pablo Gonzalez, and he's super connector. And his
Yeah,
trick, like the best way to connect to people on the conference is to go to a queue. If you see a queue for the coffee or queue for some sponsor or queue for whatever, go to the queue and just start a
yeah, I
conversation.
love that.
It's like the
Yeah,
best way to make
yeah, I
best
love that.
connections.
Yeah, I mean,
So
it depends on the conferences, right? Like sometimes what I've done in the conferences, I don't even go to the conferences. I just go to the hotels where everybody hangs out after or before, right? Because you're going to have a lot more real conversations there, right?
yeah,
Like
yeah.
everybody's out of like going from talk to talk, going from this to that, and they're just like that's when you find people to be more authentic. So that's something that I've tried to do a lot over the years. I don't go to as many conferences as I used to, but I used to go to a lot.
Got it. And before the conference itself, what is the best way to connect with you?
Yeah, you can go to growthcollective.com. You can email me at ryan@growthcollective.com. We can connect on LinkedIn. If that's good, I do write articles as well at Growth Collective, but I try to be responsive. I want to meet cool people doing interesting things. That's why I do what I do. So yeah, just reach out.
Got it, Ryan. Thank you so much for sharing your amazing wisdom even before the conference. And I can't wait to learn even more from you on Freelance Unlocked and
Yeah, it
hope to
was
see
fun.
you very soon in person.
Yeah, it'll be great. I look forward to it.
And for those who listen to this episode, I hope you follow Ryan's advice, implement it, and say thank you to him in person at the Freelance Unlocked conference on May 15th, 16th in Berlin. Go to the freelanceunlocked.com, grab your ticket, and meet you there.